What's up? Next video. First off, shout out again to Adam, TTV/Adam After Hour, letting me use his footage in the background. Yeah, this guy, he's got like a 9-stage plan going on. He's trying to make it big, so support him if you feel like it. But I used to be an artist. Okay. It's something that I say pretty often. People find it kind of confusing, because they're like, you make art, you care a lot about art, so you must be an artist. And I'm like, I don't mind if you see me as an artist, but me personally, I don't really accept it as like part of my identity. And I mean, maybe there's something to be said about the wording that I use there, but let me tell you a little bit about like the journey of what it means to have been an artist. Because obviously it means I was an artist, right? There was a time that, I felt like I was doing the thing. I was making art every day. I cared about, improving, about getting my messages across. And it was like a very big part of my like daily life, right? And back then I would say that I was an artist. The interesting thing is, I also like publicly released the least amount of art back then. Back then, most of my stuff I made was like, I saw it as like practice, or like kind of filler. So I didn't really want to release most of the stuff that I made. And today, I actually, it's kind of like the inverse. I don't say I'm an artist, but now almost everything I make, I do release publicly. And that's because today I use art more as like a tool. It's not like a landmark or like an anchor or a feature of like who I am. It's really a tool. It's a tool to either like get something across to another person, or a tool for entertaining, or a tool for getting something in my head out into the world. That's how I use art now. And because of that, wow, what is happening in this gameplay? Because of that, I feel like it makes sense to not really consider myself an artist, because it doesn't have that like constant presence in my mind the way that it used to. There was also a time before I was an artist that I was like before I was an artist, because when I was a kid, I would see stuff that like people drew, either like, peers of mine that were also kids, or adults that had like really nice stuff they made, or like I understood that like cartoons were drawn and stuff, and I would think like, wow, that's so cool. Like, I wish I was capable of doing that. I had this feeling that it was impossible, that art was not for me. And if it was for me, then like I would have known by then, right? That's kind of how I saw it. But then as I grew up, I started to consider that it was actually a decent amount of it was probably practice. and I decided to start practicing. And I didn't really practice art until I was like 20, I guess. Maybe like 19, 20, around there. And it was really simple, you know. I would just try to draw every day, doodle, just like put in hours with a pen in my hand, you know. And I think that was good. Every once in a while, I would make something that I would look at and think, wow, I'm shocked that I made that. I would think like, wow, this is different from like before when I didn't know how to do anything. And I think that what changed back when I was 19 or 20 that made me decide to start picking up like a more like practice mindset was that I told myself, I really was questioning why I thought it was impossible for me to get better at art, or like why I thought I wasn't capable of doing it right. And what I told myself eventually was, I'm going to try, and I don't know how long it's going to take, but if I manage to pull it off, and it being, if I manage to get good enough, better than I ever was in the past at, you know, drawing, or back then it was probably mostly just drawing, then I felt like I was capable of anything, right? Because that task actually felt so impossible that to accomplish that goal would mean accomplishing the impossible. And yeah, I got there. You know, it turns out it was mostly just practice. At least, wow, what the heck? This guy just got launched up into the air. But yeah, it turns out it was possible. And it actually gave me a lot of confidence to do other things too, because I realized that things that I thought were impossible, you know, maybe some of them were, but I totally had the rug pulled on like what I knew was possible versus impossible for myself. And that's really what started the whole like I am an artist era. Until we get, you know, about to today. Now I'm just a guy that does art pretty often and doesn't mind if other people call me an artist, but yeah, I'm not attached to like considering it part of who I am. Is that relatable to any of you? You ever think about stuff like that? I find it kind of amusing that I've been talking pretty calmly over this kind of tense gameplay where he's like getting chased by this underwater creature. But hey, I find it entertaining. It's funny. It's nice to see him repair this. Let's see if everything's good now. Is he repaired? Oh yeah, fully repaired. Alright, well, perfect timing. Looks like we're just about at the 10-minute mark. Yeah, TTV, Adam After Hour. Check out his gameplay. Thank you for watching, guys. See you.